Welcome to the Strength for the Day podcast, which is a daily Bible study with Dennis Fountain. We hope this time together will be challenging, sharpening, uplifting, encouraging, and strengthening to your Christian walk. Thank you for joining us, and we pray you are helped through today's study.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Strength for the Day. We are currently studying 2 Samuel, and what a great book 2 Samuel is as David becomes the anointed king and the king that would lead the people of Israel, just as God had promised him. And when I come to 2 Samuel, and really even today, just thinking about it, I'm so thankful that we serve a God who keeps his promises. And he had promised David, you will be king, I will set you up. He had promised David that actually David would be in the lineage of the Messiah. And we know that Jesus was born with the lineage of David. And so God, who keeps promises, kept them in the Old Testament, and he keeps them in the New Testament, and he keeps them with us today. And I'm just thankful that he's given us a promise of peace. He's given us a promise of wisdom. God's given us a promise of grace. He's given us a promise of comfort. And so I don't know what promise you need to claim today, but I just want to remind you this morning, this has nothing to do with our lesson, just a thought that we serve a God who keeps promises. So today, claim his promises and lean into them. We come to 2 Samuel chapter 4 this morning, and we pick up in verse number 1, when Saul's son heard that Abner had died in Hebron. All right, so remember, Abner, acting in a spirit of self-preservation, made a treaty with David. Joab, David's captain of the guard, heard. And remember, Joab's brother had been killed by Abner, and so Joab, out of bitterness, killed Abner. David ended up saying, we wanted peace with him, and you killed him. His blood will be on your head. And so now word gets back to this puppet king that has been set up, Ishbosheth, Saul's son. He hears that Abner is dead, and he lost heart, and all Israel was troubled. Now, Saul's son, Ishbosheth's son, say that name 5 times fast. His son, Saul's son, Ishbosheth, had 2 men who were captains of the troop. And the name of one was Baanah, and the name of the other was Rechab, the sons of Rimmon, the Beerothite of the children of Benjamin. For Beeroth also was part of Benjamin, because the Beerothites fled from Gittaim and have been sojourners here until this day. Jonathan, Saul's son, had a son who was lame in his feet. He was 5 years old when the news came from Saul and Jonathan. I can't read this morning. He was 5 years old when the news about Saul and Jonathan came from Jezreel. And his nurse took him up and fled. And it happened, as she made haste to flee, that he fell and became lame. His name was Mephibosheth. Then the sons of Rimmon and the Beerothite and Rechab and Baanah set out and came at about the heat of the day to the house of Ishbosheth, who was laying on his bed at noon. And they came there all the way into the house as though to get wheat, and they stabbed him in the stomach. Then Rechab and Baanah, his brother, escaped. And when they came into the house, the servants, he was lying on his bed in his bedroom. Then they struck him and killed him, beheaded him and took his head, and were all night escaping through the plain. And they brought the head of Ishbosheth to David at Hebron and said to the king, "Here is the head of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, your enemy, who sought your life, and the Lord has avenged my lord the king this day of Saul and his descendants." But David answered Rechab and Baanah his brother, the sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, and said to them, "As the Lord lives, who has redeemed my life from all my adversity, when someone told me, saying, 'Look, Saul is dead,' thinking to have brought me good news, I arrested him and had him executed at Ziklag, the one who thought I would give him a reward for his news. How much more when wicked men have killed a righteous person in his own house, on his bed. Therefore, shall I not now require his blood at your head and remove you from the earth?" So David commanded his young men, and they executed them, cut off their hands and feet, and hanged them by the pool of Hebron. But they took the head of Ishbosheth and buried it in the tomb of Abner in Hebron. I have said this always. I think the book of 2 Samuel and the life of David would probably make a blockbuster hit, if you will. There are so many turns and twists and drama and action and violence, and there's all sorts of stuff in the life of David, and yet here we are at another twist and another turn. So Ishbosheth is that king that Abner has set up. And the Bible tells us in chapter 4 that Ishbosheth is fearful for his life because Abner has been killed. And so he's hunkered down. He's at home. He doesn't know what he's going to do. The people of Israel they're appointing David king slowly, progressively. And Ishbosheth is losing any sort of leadership that he had. And I love how verse 1 starts out about him. It says, he lost heart, and all Israel was troubled. He's just like, I don't know what to do. And so he just goes to bed one night, stressed out. And he doesn't wake up the next morning because these two guys come in the night and they kill him. And they go to David and they have this conversation with David. Hey, here's the head of Ishbosheth, the one that's trying to kill you, thinking that David's going to say, man, good job, guys. Way to go. I'm going to give you guys a promotion. You guys are going to be the generals. You guys are going to be great for my army. But instead, what does David do? Well, he has them killed. He says, the person who told me Saul had died, I executed him because I'm not going to lift my hand against the Lord's anointed. How much more this innocent man? You see, Ishbosheth, while he was a player in this whole thing, and while he was hindering David from taking the rightful place that God had appointed him to, Ishbosheth was really just kind of we've said this multiple times, he was just a puppet in everything. He didn't really know what was going on. I mean, he knew what was going on, but he just kind of played along with it. Abner's the one that's pulling the strings and moving everything and having these backdoor dealings, and Ishbosheth's kind of just there for the ride. And so David has these men killed. He says, hey, why would you do this, killing a righteous man in his bed? Your blood, your head's going to be required of you tonight, and executes them. Now, when we read a story like this, I mean, while it's packed with action and drama, what can we learn? When I look at this story, here's kind of what I see looking at 2 Samuel chapter number 4. I see two men who were wanting to do the right thing. All right, Abner's gone to David, other people are going to David, and now they want to turn to David as well. They want to do the right thing. They want to follow David, the rightful king of Israel. But I see them doing it the wrong way. If you were in church this last Sunday, I said that there's a culture often in Christianity that has this type of a mindset that the end justifies the means. So it doesn't matter how I get there, just as long as I get it done. But the truth is that that statement is false. When you and I desire to do the right thing, we should want to do it in the right way. They were doing the right thing in the wrong way. They were secretly working. They were doing it in the darkness of night. They had to escape because what they were doing was wrong. And then David even calls them out because what they were doing was an attack on someone who was a righteous man, someone who really had, he was not necessarily innocent in it, but really he was just naive in it. And yet they had him killed. They were trying to do the right thing by setting David up as king and by taking Ishbosheth out. I mean, that was their mindset. If we take him out, then David's going to be king and everything will be all right. We'll be rewarded for this. They were doing the right thing, but they were doing it in the wrong way. You know, sometimes we do that. Sometimes we desire to do the right thing, but we go about it the wrong way. We might desire to do the right thing at work and be the person with a good character at work, and be the one that maybe gets a promotion, and be the one that does the right thing, and maybe standing up for truth. But we do it in the wrong way because we gossip about somebody else, or we throw somebody else under the bus, or we in a marriage we want to do the right thing. We want to have peace and harmony, but we do it the wrong way by accusing and putting the onus on somebody else in the family. We want to do the right thing, maybe in a church setting, but we do it the wrong way by maybe some backbiting, or like Abner, some backdoor deals, or whatever the case may be. And while there's various ways that we could go with this, it's just simple. It's good for us to understand this simple thought, that doing the right thing the wrong way is actually doing the wrong thing. I'm going to say it again. Doing the right thing the wrong way is actually the wrong thing. And so today, as you make your decisions, as you progress in life, as you move forward for the Lord, would you ask God, help me to do the right things in the right way? I hope that would be a help to you and a challenge today, and really something that we would commit to live by. I'm going to do the right things in the right way all the time. We'll see you tomorrow as we pick up in 2 Samuel chapter 5. Have a great Who's on the Throne of Your Heart.